Alrighty guys, welcome back to Running Shoe Kings. Today we're going to do a race breakdown of the second race of the Twilight Quad series here. So this is the Sharpsville Dam race, and let's get into things. Alrighty, so here we are, actually got a spot on the front line here, so there's a little bit more space compared to some of the other races, especially that first race at Strawberry Days. So we went off with the gun, and right off the bat I wanted to get out a little bit more aggressively just to kind of get some good positioning, because as you'll see here up ahead, the course kind of narrows down pretty quickly there with a gate and then also some barriers as we go downhill towards the Shenango Reservoir Dam. So right off the bat you can kind of see there's a good pack of about 7 of us there, kind of mixed in together. I kind of fell in line since we have to get single file to kind of weave around these barriers before we get down to the dam, but it's a little bit of a downhill stretch here too, so can get out a little bit quicker than what you might think you should. So we kind of work our way across the dam here. You can see then that we've got our group of 7, and that would ultimately be the 7 that broke away from basically the entire rest of the race. So as much as I would like to be taking in the scenes and enjoying what I'm seeing, which I still kind of did, you'll see my head kind of tilt here and there, I still wanted to stay engaged in the race, make sure that I'm paying attention to what's going on up in front of me here. So as we make our way off the dam and onto the Trout Island Trail, I started to kind of settle in a little bit, making sure that I didn't want to get too dragged out with this, because I knew those top guys are probably going out low 5s, most likely sub 5, and that's just not quite where I'm comfortable going out at. Alright, and as we kind of break out from the tree cover here, I got pretty much put into no man's land right off the bat, because that lead group, the back person on that pack ended up going out around 8 to 10 seconds faster than I did for the first mile, and I come to find out at the end that I had a pretty good gap behind me as well. So I didn't want to commit to that fast pace early and end up really dying off, so I chose to kind of stay within myself, run my own race. And as we make it our way back into the woods here, come up on the first mile here pretty soon, which I had at 5:18, which is pretty close to what I went out at in the first quad race, but this felt almost more labored. As the race went on, I definitely started to feel heavy in the legs, like I just couldn't quite get that pep going, and I kind of was out of it mentally a little bit as well, I think. Alright, and as we come up here on the first mile point, as I said, came through in about 5:18 is what I had on my watch. I believe the timing group had it closer to 5:19, 5:20, but whenever you're underneath that kind of tree cover, the watches tend to be a little bit off here and there, which I ended up being off a little bit at the end too. Alright, and then you can kind of see here, I wasn't getting too far back from the person up there in the black jersey, which you might remember him from a couple other videos. His name is Prince, but I maintained about that same gap through majority of the race, just making sure that if I had a little bit to come up and make a move on him, I was close enough to do so, but I wasn't sure whether I'd have enough at the end. He might need to come back to me just as much as I was going to go up and get to him. This course isn't out and back on the trail, so you come up here around the turnaround, you can see the leaders come through, that pack of 4, kind of broken apart a little bit from 5th and 6th being Prince. But this is a really cool moment here as you're running back through the rest of the crowd in the race. See a few people that I know racing as well, get some cheers going, and focusing on getting down to the end of this trail and back to the dam here. And as we kind of keep on keeping on with the crowd coming the opposite direction here, at this point in the race I could still see Prince up ahead, but I had my doubts as to whether I was going to be able to get up there to him. I came through mile 2 here in 5:28, which not where I wanted to be really, but I have more difficulty on those turnarounds where I lose a couple seconds, so maybe it would have been more like a 5:25, a little bit more respectable there. But that sharp turnaround, lose a few seconds, have to break rhythm and get back into a rhythm. But at this point in the race I feel strong, but I just can't get the turnover on my legs to be able to make up the ground that I need to kind of be in attack distance for 6th place. But coming into the opening here again, so this race is an out and back, as I mentioned. However, it's not a out and back in the sense of the same start point and end point. So it actually starts at the top of the hill and will finish at the bottom of the hill down by the river. So you get a nice, pretty steep downhill finish. So I kind of treat this race as a race back to where the actual start line is, because once you get to the downhill section, it's pretty much just control your legs enough to be able to hold yourself upright, and the hill will kind of give you that kick that you need at the end of the race anyway. Alright, here, and as we make our way back across the dam with the lovely sunshine coming off to our left there, nice golden hour image. At this point I'm able to look up ahead and not only see Prince at the turn on the other side of the dam, but also see a couple other guys that had kind of faded back to him. So I'm thinking at this point, if I can get a strong enough finish to get close, I have not only an opportunity at 6th place, but also 5th and maybe even 4th as well. So as we kind of make our way off to the end of the dam here, and this is really the only somewhat decent climb on the entire course here, so focused on powering up here, really getting strong strides with my arms, legs, and I was able to look kind of on the splits, and I did close on Prince here within this mile, but as you'll kind of see as we come up over cresting this hill, it just wasn't quite enough to get where I needed to be to make a move on him. And as we crest over the top of that hill here, we're now on this downhill section, and it might not look as steep now, but once we kind of get down in sight of the finish line, it does get pretty steep. So I'm really picking up the pace here, not even needing to put that much effort in to do so. But what I kind of found on this section was that I had a more strength in my legs. It just, the pep wasn't where it needed to be to push that middle section there where I kind of faded a little bit. But coming through mile 3, actually back down to 5:18. So same first mile split and third mile split, but that second mile is just where I kind of struggled to hold on and maintain. But we'll come across the bridge here and underneath the finish line for a time of 16:38, which is faster than what I had run at the Strawberry Days race, so that is a plus. However, it just wasn't quite where I wanted it to be in the end. I was kind of hoping to find that low 16:30 mark in this race, given that you do have that nice downhill finish, but just wasn't able to quite do that. And honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to beat my Strawberry Days time from the first quad if it wasn't for that downhill finish. And just some final thoughts on the race. So I think the strength side of my training is there. I've been working on the speed. I don't think the speed's quite shown the way I was hoping to, so I think going to change a few things moving forward implement some more speed work in the form of strides after runs, try and get a little bit more cadence going. That way whenever I get into these races, I have more of a cycle than I do just longer, powerful strides. I also want to try and get more in, well, I say more, get into the weight room. I haven't really been able to do a whole lot beyond core and a little bit of strength work here and there with bands. So that's going to be something that I'm going to add in here moving forward. See whether I can't get a little bit more speed out of these legs to get hopefully that sub 1630 that I kind of set as a goal at the beginning of the year. But we've got a couple weeks here before we will have the third of the quad series, so stay tuned for that. But appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.